I'd like to call the regular Planning Commission meeting to order for Thursday, March 24th, 2022, please. If we'd all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, now, Susan, with the idea of roll call, I did not hear from Mr. Turner on anything, and I'm sure that John Nold is coming. He was in our meeting earlier today, and we didn't hear anything.
I'm guessing John will just be here late.
Yeah, okay, that's when we're going to start then. Okay, so you're going to initiate and approve roll call when things arrive.
Yes, Mr. Spitz
Okay.
is excused. Mr. Bailey.
Yes.
Ms. Ross.
Yes.
Mr. Turner is absent. Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Mr. Nold is absent. Mr. Hunwick.
Yes, here.
There is a quorum.
Thank you, Susan. Could I have a motion for approval of the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Hunwick and second from Ms. Ross. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Guess it takes all of us right now. Does anybody feel like they have any conflicts of interest this evening in regards to what we have on the agenda?
No.
Seeing none, I'll move on to the minutes of the Planning Commission regular meeting of 3/10/22. Could I have a motion for someone to
I'll make a motion to approve the Planning Commission regular meeting minutes from March 10th, 2022.
Second.
I have a motion of approval for the minutes of the 3/10/22 meeting by Ms. Ross and second by Mr. Bailey. All those in favor say aye.
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 Is there anyone here for comments from the public in regards to something that's not scheduled on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to unfinished business. I don't think we have any. New business tonight is a final site plan for PC 22-002 Enclaves of Woodbridge. If the petitioner would like to get up and present himself with that, we'll get started.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Planning Commission and consultants. My name is Daniel Spadafora. I'm with Enclaves of Woodbridge, LLC. And I'm happy to answer any questions. I did note and receive copies of the consultants' review letters. I believe they were all dated March 14th of 2022. They're also noted. And any conditions that remain outstanding, I'm respectfully asking the Planning Commission for an approval with the conditions as necessary for the final site plan approval this evening. I'm here and hopefully can answer your further questions.
Mr. Hunwick.
Do you have any issues with the letters from either the planner or the engineer?
No.
So you'll address and their concerns
As
and
quickly as we possibly can to get moving with this development in the south side of Market Street, yes.
I think then probably, Zach, we might want to put you up there next.
All right.
Thank you.
Good evening. I will try to do the quicker version since we saw this not that long ago, but if anyone has follow-up questions or details, let me know. So this is a final site plan request. This body is the final approving authority. It does not go to the Township Board. Preliminary approval for this portion of the project was granted 1 month ago, February 24th, with a couple of conditions. The property is roughly 10.13 acres. It's in the multiple family zoning district. The proposed use is consistent with that zoning. It is in the multiple family high density future land use area, so the proposed use is consistent with the master plan. With respect to developmental standards, area width, height, setbacks, as discussed at preliminary review, the proposed location of the buildings are consistent. We did note that in some of the cases, if decks were added in the rear of the buildings, it would extend into those setbacks. However, patios would be okay because the zoning ordinance looks at them a little bit differently. But that's something that would be reviewed as part of the zoning permit process. It doesn't necessarily need to be addressed here. The proposed building and development meet the multiple family residential district regulations and the specific standards for these types of buildings. The number of units, the length of the building, the setbacks, building spacing, side entry garage, and access. The access and circulation will have it's roadway. It's not actually a platted road, but it's an internal roadway for the project. It will have a cul-de-sac at the end. It's been designed so that it can be converted to a straight road if future development comes along. A couple of things that we note is just adding the no parking signs to the legend. They're shown in the plan, but the legend doesn't say what those things are, just to make sure everyone in the future is clear about what's there and how it got to be there. In my understanding, they can address this, but the township engineer and fire chief are okay with access and circulation, so when it gets time to the resolution, you can cross that condition off because they're okay with it. Parking will be within the garages and within the driveways. I will let Mr. Township Engineer address essential services and utilities. Landscaping and screening is consistent with the township zoning ordinance standards for landscaping. The only note we have is just clarification that there will be an irrigation system specifically for the green belt and the landscaping along Market Street. There is a note on the plan that says it will be watered, but there isn't any note saying here's where the lines are. So just a clarification. For lighting, the conditions that were approved last time have been incorporated in the plan, specifically the color temperature. As a reminder, this body did grant a waiver for not having fully shielded fixtures because they're decorative and they're consistent with the rest of the project and they're not likely to create significant glare. There is a proposed sign. The location is shown on the landscaping sheets. It meets the setbacks. It's not in the clear vision zone and it's good for height and area, so that's all good. Condominium documents. So there are a lot of comments from the township attorney. What I will say from the planning side is there are a couple of things that your zoning ordinance says we want to have in those condominium documents. We want to know who's responsible for maintenance and how you're going to pay for maintenance. Because this is an expansion of the previous development, the documents that were submitted are the amendments to that original master deed. And they're primarily addressed at changing the description of the project, the legal boundaries, the easements, how ownership is split up. None of the items that are required in the zoning ordinance are being touched with this amendment. They were previously approved as part of phase 1. So from the planning and zoning side, there are no issues with the documents. Township attorney and township engineer did note some change, minor thing for descriptions, those types of things. Let's see. As for the site plan, we mentioned this at preliminary review. There are a couple of items that are not included in the site plan itself. Description of adjacent properties, all of the required information extending 100 feet from the boundary, calculation for the number of bedrooms, but as mentioned before, that information is either knowable from other sources or isn't really necessary for the review. So this body at preliminary review granted a waiver from that information. It's something for you to address this time as well. Another decision is whether or not the final site plan is consistent with the decision criterion 12.5, criteria for site plan review. The potential conditions that we've identified are adding the no parking signs to the legend so folks know what those are. Utility and stormwater management approval by the township engineer, confirmation of the irrigation system with notes added to it, condominium document approval by the attorney and the engineer, and a pre-construction conference before construction begins. And that's what I've got.
That was your conclusion and summary, all wrapped
Yep.
up in about the last 3.5 minutes.
Yep,
That was pretty good.
I
Thank
try.
you. Thank you. Wait a minute, just in case, do any of the planning commission members have any questions at this time for Zach?
I do have a question, just for clarification. When they originally came to us for this development, this was last summer, if I'm not, July, June?
Close enough.
Yeah, and did we not approve both phases at that time?
Yeah, it was more than a year ago.
It expired.
They were approved, and for technical reasons, this portion was cleaved off from the other. So in condominium documents, you have to describe improvements that shall be built. That's part of the state condominium act that says we will do this thing and this thing and this thing. Because condominium act it grew out from buildings. So you have to say we're going to put the columns and the electrical system and the elevators in there. The reason why this was cleaved is that at the time, my understanding is the applicants did not own the southern portion where this phase is, and they weren't sure if there's going to be a market and how soon they would do it. So they weren't comfortable saying, we will put in this road and these sidewalks and all these things, not knowing whether or not there's going to be a project. So they were approved, and then this portion was cleaved off, and
They did call it phase 1 and phase 2 though. So that's why phase 2 is now actually what's in front of us tonight.
Yep.
And there could possibly be a phase 3
yes,
if they continue forward after the end of this, at the end of this roadway where the cul-de-sac would disappear.
yep.
Ed does not know that, I don't think, because he wasn't here for some of the previous conversations.
Yes.
So we're just kind of, because we're kind of filling them in. But no, it's okay. It was a good question it
Yep,
asked.
yep, and we did touch on that at the last meeting.
Touched
and-
on all of it. So-
And so your zoning ordinance is very tight now. It says
Yeah.
approvals are good for 1 year, and we did our research and that year has passed, so that's why they get to come back here.
It technically expired, and now they're back in front of us with phase 2 as an actual new site plan, which we have the authority to approve tonight, hopefully. Someone will want to do that. Are there any other questions from any, well, Ed, if you have any more, speak up, please.
Afraid to.
Miss Ross, do you?
I'm good.
Corey, Mr. Bill?
The only one that comes to mind is you said decks in the back were not going to be permitted in all or most.
No, there's
Some of
only a
them.
couple of spots. Should we go back to the site plan? Or,
Yeah.
What
I'll
is the
give you a
rear
second.
elevation height? If patios are allowed, are they taking 5-6 steps down to a patio, or
when you look at, there were a couple of proximities, like, one of the buildings is really close. It might have been,
Yeah.
which one was it? The 27?
26.
Oh, 26. Yeah, when you look at 26 right here, when they're talking about where this would be see the projected line right there? All of a sudden, the distance from one building and then to the next right here, this deck doesn't really work out right. Now, if it's a patio, that'd be different, because a patio is a landscape feature and be on the ground. But if it's a deck and it's in the air, depending on what the elevation is, didn't we discuss that this elevation might make this into a patio? And there shouldn't be a problem if it's a patio. And that's what I recollect, and that's
Yep.
what I recall. And this, I believe it was only this building, wasn't it?
Well, there
Was there
were,
another one?
let me see, I just lost
I
it.
can't remember.
Buildings 17, 18, 19, 20, and 26.
Right here? This part right here?
Yeah, so in that case, it's
Yeah.
the minimum spacing side to side is 20 feet.
Right
so
here.
if you continued both decks following those lines, they would be within 20 feet, but it would be possible, to do a partial deck or an angle.
Well, they might even angularly, they could angle 45 a deck off at a
Yep.
corner or something like that and make it work.
Yeah,
I really think the only one that was really the most difficult was back when we went to the other one,
yeah, that was the biggest challenge. The others, they're
right here,
I,
26, building 26. Yeah, I don't think we had problems with any others. I can try to, but that's a good question. Do you want me to?
If you scroll down just a
I'm trying on 20,
Yeah, that
like right here.
Yep, the same issue there.
All those, because they're coming around the inside radius, so they get smaller. They're 20 feet from building to building at the corners. But the decks are.
Yep.
They might be 18 or could be a fraction off, but they could shave part of that deck off and just set it back a little bit.
Yeah.
Take 1 foot off one side and 1 foot off another building, and you're in line again.
And so the dashed line you see there on the back of the units,
Yeah.
that denotes a limited common element, which means you have exclusive right to use that space. You could put a deck or a patio or whatever in there. So it doesn't necessarily mean that there will be a deck. We just wanted to bring it up for the planning commission, for the applicant to know that some of them may be a little extra work.
And I think it's important too, like when you get out here at this cul-de-sac, all this eyebrow stuff and the one that runs around on this side too, this will all just be removed later. And then the roadway has it has its own description with the easement down through there, if I remember that correctly.
Yeah.
So the roadway, which is the continuation of the road going this way, then these eyebrows will just be taken out, and then the buildings will just kind of loop back around, and the property kind of swings back to the Market Street, technically. Yeah, but we don't need to pull that up tonight because that's not part of our review. All right.
All right. Thank you.
Gosh, I'm at a point where I would entertain a motion, but Mr. Motion Man's. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Sharp. I apologize. Would you like to get up to the podium?
We're
Real?
looking at Pete. He's got a lot of comments.
Oh, wait. Well, he has. I have his letter in here. We'd be happy to pull yours up next, though.
Okay.
I just got to find it real quick. There's a lot of stuff.
Apparently, there's a 20.
I got you.
There's a 7:29 start time that Mr. Berger's trying to get home for. it sounds
I
like. So,
apologize. I'm trying to be good.
approximately 7:29.
That's close
so,
enough. That's close enough. You're right.
Drive time from here to home.
Yeah. So obviously, you have our final site plan review letter.
Yeah.
We are recommending for final site plan approval tonight. And again, as Zach had mentioned, that this has been before you with regards to our portion of it, with regards to the grading. We see no issues with that. They are connecting to the public sanitary sewer system and extending it. Same with the water and the storm sewer. They have agreements already in place to store their stormwater on the golf course property. With regards to the pavements, we've talked about the cul-de-sac. The plans still show the concrete sidewalks being broken with the asphalt driveways, and we have both commented that we would like to see the concrete sidewalk continue through the driveways, so you don't go from asphalt to concrete to asphalt to concrete. But they can clean that up. That's a pretty easy fix. And our biggest comment at this time were the condominium documents, and I think that you probably have a red line markup in that set, if that was included.
And you're talking about for the exhibits now, or just for the on the documents themselves?
Yeah, if you scroll down.
I'm looking. There was some markup somewhere in here.
Correct. So we have a red line markup that we
Yeah.
provided to the
I saw it
applicant.
earlier.
And they are just some cleanup items with regards to the easements.
There's notes over here, is what they are.
Correct, and those were our comments.
Right, and it
So as long
continues
as the
on.
applicant, which they have indicated they'll address these, then there won't be any issues
And
with
there's
those.
some of your notes again, and there's another one there. And
Correct.
then it keeps going. I looked at these earlier.
Yep, and then if you scroll down,
I'm trying to. Tell me when you want me to stop.
keep going until you get to the Exhibit Bs.
I will get there in a minute. There's Exhibit A.
Yep, they just, again, keep scrolling, Tom, but
I'm
just so that
good.
the commission knows, they
We
just
have-
had some
we have them all in
minor
there.
corrections to make as they go through these, referring to Glassby Street instead of North Oxford
Yeah,
Road,
and
those kinds of
I
things.
looked at them a little while ago.
Some
Was
things
that-
in the legal descriptions that don't match what's on the exhibits.
Well, that was part of what the attorney's letter was making reference to. And we'll probably just pull the attorney's letter up real quick and look at that in a minute.
Sure.
But I see you got all your comments in regards to each one. Where's Exhibit B at? I saw it here a while ago. A again?
Coming up, there's
It's
your.
got to be pretty quick.
It's gonna be at the bottom when the screen explodes.
Well, probably. Okay, help me out.
So again, these are them right there, Tom.
Yeah,
You'd have to minimize
yeah,
that a
there we
little
go.
bit. But again, just some stuff. But
North
these are their
parcel.
Exhibit B drawings, and again, there were just some minor comments that need to be addressed in here. Some things that weren't matching up between the legal descriptions and so forth. But again, I believe that their engineer will be able to correct these without too many headaches in there. And
Okay,
again, with regards to the landscape plan, they show some trees that are pretty much right on top of the existing fire hydrants and so forth. But you know, once we get into the field and plant those, I'm sure that we'll make sure, okay, there's a fire hydrant here. We're not going to put the tree right on top of the fire hydrant. We'll make sure that it's a safe enough distance away from that. So really, we had very, very minor comments on there. And again, the applicant has indicated that they will be able to, that they will address all of them. They still have to go through the engineering review process where they give us more detailed information with regards to the utilities, and they need their permits from Eagle and so on. But other than that, we're cool with it.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Sharp? Seeing none,
Yeah, I have one.
or Mr. Bailey?
The one drawing that you had with the cul-de-sac, will there be a safety path that has to go all the way around that, or will it end? At the
No,
end
there
of
will
it?
be no safety path for this project. They will continue their sidewalks internally around to loop back onto East Market Street when they do future phases.
Okay.
But as far as the 8-foot wide safety path, it is not a requirement of the internal development. It's just the sidewalks that already exist on East Market Street.
Okay.
For the cul-de-sac though, instead of looping the sidewalk around it, they're crosswalks. So
Okay.
you get to the end, you can cross to the other side.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I didn't understand.
Yeah, he means right at the end of the roadway. So when you get down here, this turns into a it has the
Correct,
cul-de-sac.
right at the end of that road right there, if you go back to the
Right.
site plan, which was way in
Yeah,
the beginning,
Yep.
they had, some
He means
crosswalks so
there's
they
a
could cross the
crosswalk that
street.
goes across the street.
Yep.
Actually, I think it's probably right there.
Yeah,
Okay.
Pretty close to the end of the
to
road.
there, if I remember, yep.
So they'll be able to do it internally, and I would assume they'll just keep those sidewalks in place in the future, even if they extend the road, but they would have the option to take them out, I guess, if they wanted. All right, anything else?
There's a safety path going across the entrance of the development, right?
Out here.
On
Yes.
Market Street.
But that's because that's within the road right away when you come down Market Street as a public road. This, I believe, is gonna be all private road. See where it says private right there?
Right, but the safety path goes across, goes along
It's actually on
Market
both
Street.
sides of the
It
street,
actually
you know,
goes
like
right
Abbey
there.
Ridge. You can walk from Abbey Ridge down to Tim Hortons right now.
It's right there. It's right on the plan, right down through there.
I don't remember, is the safety path already in place there?
It is,
Yeah, it is, all right.
yes.
I haven't seen many people on that one though.
I'm always agonizing.
Well, I
from
do
my
know
golf
when there was
shots
an event
from
where there
one
were a
to
lot
the
of
other. I
people
never
on
pay
it, but I'm
attention.
not gonna go.
Well, they can walk down to Tim Hortons. It's easy. It's walking back up. That's hard for everybody. So big hill there.
I only go downhill on a bicycle, so I don't know. Okay. They have to drive me back up the hill. Thank you, Mr. Sharp.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate your comments. Actually, when we talked about Susan Morrison and her letter, there was a lot to it. I don't know if we want to read all of it into the record, other than the fact that we do have a letter dated March 14th, 2022, with regards to the final site plan approval for the condominium documents. And it's, she addresses a lot of things that were from phases that started from phase 1, but with a continuation to phase 2, and a lot of legal descriptions that she talks about from page 1, paragraph 1, description of sheets to be added, replaced, and all that. I don't think we have to read every one of these individually. I just want people to take note. Mr. Sharp, do you want to make a comment real quick?
I was just going to indicate that although this is a separate phase,
Yeah.
that the condominium association, it will be one association.
For all of it.
So they're not making this like a separate one. It's still going
Right.
to be the enclave. So that's why they're amending their Exhibit Bs, and they're going to amend their master deed because it will be all one association, correct?
And she talks about from the first amendment to the master deed to then this amendment to the master deed to contain all that. And I just want everybody on the planning commission to know that if you look down through the letter from Ms. Morrison, that's kind of what you'll see. And then she gets a little descriptive in parts of it down through certain sheets that she all quotes from when she went through the documents. She had a 4-page letter herself. I think it was 5 pages, excuse me. Her name just kind of at the very top of the 5th page. But she said, accordingly, we would recommend that final approval be held in abeyance until an amended master deed documents are submitted. Now, we went through this last time when we talked about, we know there's a master deed. We know it has to be amended. And we know that we can approve this site plan and then still get that master deed amended and then reviewed. It has to be approved by the township attorney to move forward with the project. So I don't want to hold it in abeyance, myself, personal opinion now. I would like to go move this thing into final approval tonight if we can, so we don't have to do that.
So a lot of the issues that are brought up are technical issues about legal descriptions and not using the same exhibit letter for multiple exhibits, as opposed to philosophical things like who's going to take care of the sidewalk and the street. Those are already covered. So your zoning ordinance says that the planning commission approves master deed condominium documents. But yes, if you're comfortable that it's close enough where you don't think that your further review would add value to it, it would be appropriate to say we prove it with the condition you have to make the township attorney happy.
Close enough. That's kind of what the language would be for me. And you're right, Zach. That's pretty typical to what her letter stipulates down through it when you read it. I read it closer and slower when I was at home, but I'm not going to spend all that time this evening with it. Now, Mr. Schultz, you had a document in here somewhere. What page am I on? Where is he at? Oh, he's down there a little ways. Hang on. I'm going to get to him. Just takes me a second. Sorry. There were a lot of pages in this. So this is the letter from the fire department, Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
Okay.
And everything is, I'm still in agreement with everything from when we talked at the last meeting and everything, so nothing's changed since then.
Okay, so this letter is kind of a clone from that previous one.
Correct, and it refers to it right there that we'd already
Yep.
showed on the plan.
February 11th of this, yep.
So we're good.
Okay, thank you, Pete. Are there any planning commission members at this time that have any other questions in regards before we try and attempt to get to a motion?
Nope.
Is there someone that wants to attempt to make this motion? I can't do it.
I can try.
You're gonna just read it slowly and we'll work with you.
All right, I'd like to make a motion. Oxford Township Planning Commission draft resolution for final site plan of Enclaves of Woodbridge Phase 2. A resolution for a final site plan for a residential building condominium submitted by Dominic Garrick. Is that
That's right.
okay? On behalf of Enclaves of Woodbridge for property located south of Market Street, east of Lapeer Road, Section 22 of Oxford Township, 0422-200-025. Whereas Dominic Garrick, applicant, on behalf of Enclaves of Woodbridge, pursuant to the provisions of the Oxford Township zoning ordinance, submitted an application for combined preliminary and final site plan for Enclaves of Woodbridge Phase 2 on February 3rd, 2022. And whereas the applicant submitted a 12-page site plan on March 7th, 2022, with the last revision date of March 7th, 2022, prepared and stamped by Gordon Wilson, a licensed professional engineer, and whereas the applicant submitted the draft second amendment to Master Deed Enclaves of Woodbridge Condominium on March 7th, 2022, and whereas the Planning Commission has received a report from Zach Michelle's planning consultant dated March 14th, 2022, and whereas the Planning Commission has received a report from Jim Sharp, engineer consultant, dated March 14th, 2022, and whereas the Planning Commission has received a report from Pete Schultz, Oxford Fire Department Chief, dated February 11th, 2022, and whereas the Planning Commission has received a report from Susan Morrison, Township Attorney, dated March 14th, 2022, and whereas the site is located within a RM multiple family residential district, and whereas attached single-family residential duplex is a permitted use in the RM multiple family residential district, and whereas the Planning Commission at its February 24th, 2022 meeting reviewed the application and granted preliminary approval with conditions, and whereas the Planning Commission at its March 24th, 2022 meeting reviewed the application for the final site plan of Enclaves of Woodbridge Phase 2 and did not receive public input. And whereas the Planning Commission grants a waiver for information missing from the combined preliminary and final site plan as allowed in Section 12.3B2, information required, and Section 12.3C2, information required of the zoning ordinance. And whereas the final site plan of Enclaves of Woodbridge Phase 2 meets or would meet with conditions noted in this resolution, the standards of Section 12.05A through Section 12.05O of the zoning ordinance, site plan approval standards. And whereas the Planning Commission has authority to approve or deny final site plans excluding site condominiums as provided in Section 12.3C3 of the zoning ordinance. And whereas the final site plan of Enclaves of Woodbridge Phase 2 is in substantial compliance with the approved preliminary site plan. Now therefore, be it resolved, the Planning Commission by a majority vote at a duly noticed regular meeting held this 24th day of March 2022 approves the final site plan of Enclaves of Woodbridge Phase 2 for property located south of Market Street, east of Lapeer Road, Section 22 of Oxford Township 04-25-200-025 to the applicant subject to the conditions listed below. A, no parking signs shall be added to the proposed legend on sheet 1. B, sidewalks on sheet 1 shall be shown as extending through the driveways as done on sheets 2 and 3. We're striking C, correct? Okay. D, utilities and stormwater management approval by the township engineer. E, design approvals and permits related to utilities, roadways, and grading shall be secured and provided before issuance of any permits. F, sanitary, sewer, and water supply system approved by Eagle. G, applicant shall confirm that an irrigation system shall be installed for landscaped areas in the right-of-way in greenbelt and/or irrigation system details shall be added to the landscape plan. H, all utility structures shall be located outside of proposed sidewalks. I, the landscape plan shall be revised so that no trees are proposed within 10 feet of any manhole, catch basin, fire hydrant, gate well, or similar utility structure. J, revisions to the condominium documents noted in township attorney and township engineer reviews and condominium document approval by the township attorney and township engineer. K, outlines of additional units south of phase 2, for example, on sheet 5 shall be removed. L, the phasing line shall be adjusted to include the cul-de-sac at the end of the roadway. M, applicant shall participate in a pre-construction conference with the township and interested agencies before submission of final permits for construction. And N, the final site plan approval shall expire and be of no effect after 365 days following approval.
Before there is a second for this motion, in section 160,
Yes.
Oh boy.
it says section 22 of Oxford Township 0425-200. It should be 0422-200.
I would like to amend that.
0422 instead of 25?
Yeah, it's just a typographical.
Okay,
error.
thank you for that,
I
Susan.
will amend that to 0422-200-025.
Okay.
Thank you. Miss Ross for that motion. I'm looking for support for that motion.
I'll support with a question.
Well, let's support the motion and then we'll have comments.
I'll support the motion.
You'll second the motion.
You'll
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Ross and we have second to the motion by Mr. Hunwig. Is there any comments before we vote on the motion? Mr. Hunwig?
I'm looking through the contingents that were outlined. And
By
I'm giv-
letter?
Yeah, well, the attorney,
Oh, the, Miss Morrison?
Ms. Morrison, is, am I missing something, or is that not?
It says, in the condominium document approved by the township attorney and the township engineer. Well, what we have to have is the revisions to the condominium documents noted in the township attorney and township engineer's reviews. So this is J, where you're reading it right there. You see that? In J? One of the alphabetical ones?
All right, township attorney. All right.
Township attorney.
All
So
right,
it has
all
to be
right.
revisions accordingly
Yep,
to the
yep.
township attorney.
I
And then it will
apologize.
be
Yep.
it'll be reviewed by the township attorney before any pre-construction meeting or anything would occur to make, and things happen and take place on phase 2. So I believe, we probably covered everything within the motion. If anybody has any questions, please let me know. Seeing none, I'd like Susan to do a roll call vote.
Bailey?
Yes.
Hunwick?
Yes,
Ross?
Yes.
Berger?
Yes. Motion approved. Okay, that concludes our new business with A. We have 10 communications and/or other committee reports. Do we Want to hear from anybody on any committees right now? Ms. Ross, have you got anything that you want to make comment to?
We have connected and are working on setting up a meeting.
Oh, great. That's good to hear. Okay. I guess, Mr. Bailey, do you have anything?
No, sir. We haven't had a.
Okay, I think Mr.
Is he-
Knoll may have had some things to talk about, but I don't see him present. Ed was back with us today at our ORC meeting. We had, I think, a very good meeting this afternoon. Went for more than a couple hours, which I didn't anticipate. We're still working on conditions of the residential planned unit development ordinance. Ed's brought up to speed with it. We still have some conclusions to further get down the road on it. And we are looking to bring that forward soon to the Planning Commission to move it forward into approval. We still have the non-residential PUD ordinance that we're going to look at. We did administrative and procedures today. I think we have that moving forward to get that into approval. We concluded something else today, didn't we? Or is that no?
The zoning map maintenance.
The zoning map maintenance. Okay, we got through that today. And so we're moving forward pretty good with ORC. We do have another scheduled meeting for next Thursday, just before the end of the month, to try and conclude, I think, to get our residential PUD ordinance in line to move it forward. So that's pretty much where ORC stands right now. We don't have any other committee comments or reports, I think. Do we have any planner or engineer reports?
The only thing I have to add is that we're starting to get the uptick in permits now. The ground is thawing, so the decks are blossoming. And to the north of us, Westlake, there are foundations in the ground now. So that's
Oh, absolutely. Done inspections up there. Mr. Sharp, you all set?
I think tonight.
Do you have anything, Mr. Schultz, you want to add?
No, I'm good.
I don't think I have anything from the building official. He's not here in attendance. I haven't heard from him. Zoning administrator, we just talked, we heard from him. And recording secretary, do we have any comments that you?
Yes. Everybody was given a schedule of payroll. So
They
you
were?
need to, yeah, at the beginning of the year.
Oh, that schedule, okay.
So I can look at, obviously I know from the minutes when you've attended planning commission meetings, but I have no idea about committees, who's
Oh, no.
here. So if you attended a committee meeting and you want to get paid, you got to let me know that month. So if you look on the calendar, you see when payday is.
But let me ask you,
beginning of
have
the
you
week.
had any difficulties receiving emails from people in regards to that? I mean, I tried to get mine to you pretty quickly.
Well, nobody gave me anything this month. I just went off the minutes for regular meetings.
Did you? Really?
Yeah.
I wasn't here.
So if you
Because
went to committee
are we
meetings, you
past
didn't get
payroll
paid
date
for.
right now then? This
For
week?
this month.
We are? Well, thank you for your help.
Yeah.
I'll say
So
it that
if you-
way.
if you
Because
had
I had meetings and I didn't report them
If you
then.
had committee meetings this month, you didn't get paid for them.
Okay, they'll get paid another time then, right?
If you submit them.
Okay, I'll submit mine at a later date. I'll be out of town, but it doesn't
Either that or
matter.
it's a donation.
I don't mind that once in a while. Okay, thank you for your comment. I thought I was pretty good with most of mine, but I think I didn't turn one in recently, so it is my fault. And I don't know about Ed, if he's had any to even turn in.
No, I just said I didn't have anything to turn.
Okay. Well, seeing none, that was our last from the recording secretary. Thank you, Susan, for your comment. We'll try to help and be more beneficial in the future on that. And I would then think 13, we're all set for adjournment at 7:40 p.m. on March 24th, 2022.